Okay, what are we doing here? Okay, so when the Venus gets into Gemini or Virgo, it's in the Mercury ruled sign, the masculine, projective Virgo, Gemini, and the feminine, reflective Virgo. So when Venus is Virgo, it's fussy. I don't want this. It's analyzing. It's thinking about what it likes and doesn't like, and it gets fussy. Oh, I don't like the crumbs. I don't want this. It gets very. I'm saying fussy, but it can be very elegant too. It likes this, very practical, likes nice things, but it's always refining them, trying to make them better, and always thinking about what it wants. So a lot of people just getting what they want. They're not trying to think about it at all. But this thinking quality is a strong measuring quality of Mercury, and having discrimination for what you want. So it's a little prudish, Venus in Virgo, but that discrimination allows for a healthy approach. Whereas in Gemini, the Mercury in Gemini is curious and interested in anything. It's not discriminating. It just wants to. I want to meet anybody. I want to be anybody that's different. Anything. I want to be talked to. I want to be listened to. I want to have an interest in things. So the Mercury, really, the mental attitude of freedom is going to affect the emotional attitude of freedom, and they're not going to be the most possessive, selfish, tied-in persons to relationships. They're going to be thinking more independently about what they want. And the quality of how they do that, that shows you the quality of the Venus in the Gemini and the Mercury rulership guiding it. So good thinking will do great things, but bad thinking will get Venus and Gemini in a lot of trouble. Like if you think you can steal or you can take things, you can do things, you're not reflecting on the responsibility. You're just saying, oh, I can get this, I can get that. So it can be very fun-loving, but it's not likely to be too responsible or considerate of the others. Okay, so that's the Mercury rulership. You're always trying to evolve the good quality. You're going to see the influence of that planet on Venus when it's rulership, and the Venus is always aspiring in that mode of that planet to express it as well, to get what it wants. So in Gemini, I want to be listened to, I want to be talked to. In Virgo, I want to be heard, but I want to be able to improve things. I want people to see that this improvement's needed and be appreciated for what I'm fixing, for my tastes in this. But as soon as it gets in one sign predominant, it's lacking some of it. It takes away the energy from the other signs. So it is a bias, it is a focus. When you get the Venus in Taurus or Libra, it's ruling these signs. These are the two signs where Venus is most at home and most comfortable. It's the most dignified positions for Venus. In Taurus, it's the natural sense of what's beautiful, what's not, what's lovely, what's not, what's beautiful. These things are nice. It has good taste. Expensive taste, but good taste. And it wants to accumulate things. I want to be beautiful. I want to look beautiful. I want to have these things. So it's very practical in that sense. And when it doesn't like something, I don't want that. I don't like that. That doesn't do anything for me. I don't like that. I don't want to have anything. And they're very strong and independent in their judgment around what they want. This is the reflective Venus. In Libra, it's the social Venus, the sharing, the relationships. I want to share with you. Here, let's share something. Let's do things together. Let's talk. Let's communicate. Let's go to dinner. Let's go share. It brings out the social sharing element of Venus, which is the other beautiful side. One is the accumulating beautiful things. The other is the sharing the beauty and having the culture of Libra. This is why Venus is the predominating factor of those two signs, and those two signs have the strong relationship to Venus. So you're going to be a Libra, but your Venus might be somewhere else, but there's still going to be a strong influence of what that Venus is. I mean, if you're the Scorpio, then it's Mars. Venus may not be so connected to it, but if you're a Libra, where the Venus is going to have a predominant place. It could be in any of the 12 signs, and the Venus is still wanting to be appreciated, but there's going to be 12 different styles of what you want. So the numbers flash there, and they're all there. I'm talking about them, but really it's simple. Venus and Libra want to share. I want to listen to. I want to be listened to. Let's make a cultured relationship. Sharing. So its focus is more on sharing than getting things for myself. In fact, I'll do this for you. I'll do this for you. I want this for you. It's like that's more that quality. Taurus doesn't have that. I want this for me. I do. I'd like to be in a relationship, but I gotta be the princess, or I gotta be the prince. Okay. So, I mean, we're looking from the chart. We're looking at the individual. We're not looking at the sexuality, but it will play out differently, man or women. For where Venus would be, you're seeing how a woman would process, how a man would process. It's how the individual processes in a male or female body. You know, it's just another layer you could add on, and it would open up some different senses. So there's lots of books written about how Venus and Mars are about sexual relations, giving and taking and receiving, how men come from Venus, men come from Mars, and women come from Venus. But it's not exactly so. It's just an association. It's a poetry that is playing on this concept. But that's looking at men and women as physical beings rather than spirits having inner experiences, rather than seeing that we're spiritual beings having a physical experience, going through one of our lifetimes. Okay, so the Venus in the Venus sign, it's going to be very strong on its taste and what it wants. It'll be its quality. Being satisfied will be the theme, and they'll have more satisfaction than other people. But that means they can be alienated from other people too, because they're too content. They're spoiled, seemingly. When you put Venus into the Mars signs, into Aries or Scorpio, the Venus gets aggressive. When you want something, you go for it. In Aries, you go for it. In Scorpio, you desire it, you make the commitment, but go for it. We're going to make it happen. So in Scorpio, it's too obsessive sexual. It gets into sexual commitments, and it gets in there, and it wants them, and then when it gets there, it's hard to deal with the stormy relationship. In Aries, it's the flirt, or it's like, I'll go for it. Why not? I'll try this. I'll try that. Play chicken with you. I can do that. I can do that. And it does the thing, so it can be easy to make love with someone, but difficult to be content with it. I did it. Okay, but then it can get stormy and it's not satisfying, but what else are you going to do? So when Mars is ruling, there's a tendency to be aggressive with what you want. If you push what you want, I made this pie for you. You've got to sit down and eat it now. You've got to here, sit down, have a piece, have another piece. You spoil the beauty. So when you force what you want, when you're too assertive in what you want, you spoil the beauty. And in sexuality, you would spoil the timing. It's like trying to make love too fast. It's got to be this. It's pushing it. When you're not letting the other person do it, do their part. So that's the puzzle with the Mars. It tends to be too aggressive. And the Venus, in the Venus signs, tends to be more indulgent. The Mars can be forcing the indulgent, but not, that can be spoiling the quality of the satisfaction. So one has to learn to control one's temper when one doesn't get what one wants. When Venus is in, you have to learn that in any sign, but that's specifically so for the Venus in Aries or in Scorpio. When Venus is in the Jupiter signs of Pisces or Sag, you have the understanding and the belief and the faith. So you want to understand, you want to believe, you want to be conscientious and knowledgeable or understanding of relationships with people. You want to be the teacher. You want to know what's right or wrong. So you can be attracted to what's right or negatively, really actively involved in many places of what's wrong, or have some combination of what's right and wrong, and you're juggling things. So you're trying to juggle things too much with the mutable Venus, but then what's guiding it and controlling it is a sense of what's right and what's wrong. So Venus in Sag and in Pisces has to learn what's right and wrong. And you learn it by, oops, that was wrong. That was embarrassing. Oh, that was shameful. I can't do that. I got to make up for it. So there's a need to challenge the Jupiter and the understanding to guide your Venus, to guide your desires and your sense of satisfaction. So you need to understand why you want something. When you know what you want and you have Venus there, you'll preach about it. There's a tendency to exaggerate the emotions with the Jupiter there in Sag or Pisces, to magnify and to have many emotional experiences, but again, not necessarily that much restraint. So sometimes that can be too many things, too many people. It's just as much problem if you have 2 or 3 people in love with you. How do you choose which one? Or do you choose them all? There's values involved in this. And Venus will attract its own type of complexes and have to work them through. But the final resolution, when you're trying to guide someone, that rulership planet is very useful to see how to guide someone. Now, sometimes that rulership planet is really afflicted and messed up in a chart and they can't rely on that. Then you have to try and get to those values in other ways. But still, you'll often see the negative relationship to that planet as the complex a person has, and then you're having to guide them from the negative to what's more positive use of that energy. And the rulerships are so useful for doing that. So Venus in Capricorn, Aquarius, it's the winter signs, it's the colder Venus. You know, it's in Saturn rulership. There tend to be, I don't have enough, I'm not going to get what I want. They tend to be cautious about their emotions. They're not the first person to show if they like someone. They wait for you to show first. They wait to see what you're bringing to me more than I'm going to show what I'm bringing to you. So It can be tight, stingy about money or stingy about emotions, not showing it. But there's a need. If I want something, I should work and get it for myself. I shouldn't expect someone else to give it to me. So they're more defensive in emotions, but the defense, the inhibition, can create a sense of ambition of, I'm going to work to get this much money, and I'll pay it, I'll get the things I want myself. And sometimes you might, depending where it is, you may find that you can work it through working a relationship. Sometimes you're going to see the things that will establish it. But the question, because that's the father, how do you get along with your father? You know, you talk to each other, and that will give you a picture of how the Saturn influence of respect and discipline will come in. So these are signs that know how to get by with fewer things, with lesser things. And because they're disciplined and getting by with lesser things, they don't have the same tolerance to someone like a Moon and Venus in Gemini or Cancer, Leo, or just getting whatever they want, thinking they can get it, not trying to work for it.